think, again, with all the mass communication and following the recruits, and basically I think everybody just sits around and follows everyone's Twitter and who's visiting where and who's going where and who's committing where and who's what. You know, so just a lot of hanging on down the stretch. I think recruiting's getting where you better identify the players you want, the students you want, the kids you want, but you got to build some relationships where they buy into you and trust you, because there's a lot of ripple effect. Like I always told the guys, they recruiting didn't start till January 15th, and you're hanging on for dear life. But we added the guys we thought we were going to get. We had a couple guys in the fold we kind of knew we had, we thought, and in the process of kind of ironing one out right now. It's not official yet because he hadn't been processed, so we'll see if that comes through. So anyway, thought it was a good class, and again, appreciate all the efforts, whether it be around town, whether we're staying uptown and then going out to eat, or all the interactions we have, our academic support people help us, the people that serve the meals for us up top. We've got several car dealers that help us out with just transportation throughout the year. It's a collective effort of a lot of people, and again, we're slowly building our organization in a positive way, and I think this is a good class. So I guess real quick, I hadn't really planned anything. Let me go through, I'll give you a quick synopsis of some guys. First of all, in general, and you want to have some balance, but the last few years we have really targeted defense so hard, we put a little bit more emphasis on offensive numbers, and we're not trying to be 50-50, but I want to say going into this year we had signed 39 kids the last 3 years, and like right now with this class, that's 47, and 47 times 2 is 94. That's more than half your recruiting commitment. So we wanted some offensive guys, and you don't wait till a guy graduates, typically, and recruit a guy and expect him to come in and play winning Big Ten football in the Big Ten East immediately day one. You're kind of thinking 1 or 2 years in advance for the development side, physically and psychologically and emotionally and all that kind of stuff. So there's a number of offensive guys. The O-line class I think is reasonable with their body types, their length, their athleticism. You know, a kid I fell in love with early was Coy Crunk. He's a catcher and on the baseball team, on a tremendous team. He's playing Mike linebacker, and he's pushing 6'5", and right now he's over 280 pounds. The way he could run was intriguing. Mackenzie Nowar out of Houston, a very athletic guard, was intriguing. So some of those guys were it was good to get 4 quality linemen in the class. Ryan Smith and Grayson Stover, the other 2. Tight end position was pretty critical. You know, we lost last year, counting Sean Damaska, the walk-on. We lost 3 tight ends. And so to bring in Ian Thomas, who was actually on a visit last week to Texas A&M, still stuck with us and was offered. Thought it was too far away from home, liked the offense. Had a great relationship with Coach Patton. You know, A&M came in with 1 week, and Coach Patton had a couple months of working, kind of weathered the storm there. But was intrigued with him. I was very excited about Sean Bonner. Sean plays on a Colquitt County, Georgia team that's state champion, 30-0. I think they were the national champion by several high school teams. It's a high-end program. He's 260 couple pounds. Great blocker, and he plays in the backfield. You see him move around. He does a lot of things our tight ends do. And then the guy I'm kind of throwing in that class, he's halfway a running back, halfway a blocker. One of my favorite players was Tyler Natee, who's a 6-footer, weighed 263 on his visit. He's quarterback, lefty. So you're left-handed quarterback and you're 6'2", 263. You're not attractive. And when I went to Texas to see a kid by the Lego kid, I went to a couple high schools, and I just asked a question to a coach at a tremendous program, South Lake Carroll. I said, who's the best player around here? He said, there's a quarterback at Euless Trinity. He's the best player in Dallas. Nobody's recruiting him. I said, why? Well, he's 6 foot, 260-pound quarterback. And so I went to see Carter Whitson's dad, South Grand Prairie. I said, how about the kid at Euless Trinity? He said, he beat us. He was awesome. And so next thing you know, I'm in the car and I'm driving to Euless Trinity, which is a tremendous program. And walked in and saw him, and I said to Coach, why is no one recruiting him? He says, well, the assistant coaches are having a hard time selling him to the head coach. I go, well, I'm the head coach and I like him. And so we kind of cut to the chase real quick, got him on a visit. And, you know, I think he could be a goal line, big back, a little bit of a blocker. I think he's a very gifted, big athlete. He's a good ball carrier. So I like the big guys. I like those big tight ends. We got some really good running backs and receivers, a couple quarterbacks. So offensive skills good. We had defensive secondary hard. And Marcelino Ball that we kind of felt was coming out of a great program too. Matter of fact, they lost to Colquitt County in the Georgia State Championship. The 2 best teams in Georgia was Roswell versus Colquitt County. Tremendous player. I saw him early December, fell in love with him, the way he looked. We're calling him a defensive back. He'll play that nickel safety, basically what's been an outside linebacker for us, but they're intrigued by Marcelino. Didn't take a lot of big guys up front. That'll be a priority next year. Hopefully we've answered that in the previous years, last 2 years with the linebackers and D-line we've recruited. So a class now of 20 and we got an ad. So going through these guys quickly. Marcelino Ball, see him as our outside, what coach has previously called the Husky, like a big, strong safety nickel guy, very athletic, very explosive. Athletic family. Reggie Ball was his brother. I think 2 of his brothers have played NFL football. Great program, Roswell, Georgia. Lost in their state championship down there. Great kid, dynamic, athletic, 6'1"-ish, 6'6" and a half, 6'1", 205-pound athletic outside linebacker safety type. Phil Binker, I'm going alphabetically. Phil committed to us a long time ago from Sandalwood, Florida. I had a chance to see him play in person this year when we were for open date. He committed last summer. He's a big kid, but he's actually already graduated and wanted to be here for spring semester, but we didn't have the mid-year spots available. We took those 2 and filled those with Lego and with Jamie Thompson. So Phil wanted to be here. He's taking some college credits right now. A unique kid. His mom's from Germany and came over, so it's kind of a different family there, visiting with them, and the conversations were quite. My wife did an exchange for 6 months in Germany, so she was my official interpreter during our official visit here. So I appreciate Angie helped me out there with Phil's mom. But a big receiver, athletic kid. Is going to come in. He'll probably weigh low 200s when he shows up. He's a big-bodied receiver that we like and think we need in the Big Ten. Got on Sean Bonner late. If you watch his tape and watch him play in the backfield, moving around, great ball skills, tremendous program. And he was over 260 pounds when he visited here. He's a big kid who'll have a blocking presence. And maybe big enough and good enough to play as a young man. We use that position quite a lot. I think this year as the offense took off a little bit, it was a credit to the tight end play and losing a couple guys. So very, very excited about Sean Bonner. Khalil Bryant was an early commitment with Phil. They're both from Jacksonville. Khalil has also graduated early, and so he's down on my son today on his visit. He was working a part-time job at UPS. He was all dressed in his brown outfit, looking all good, and he's got him a little job. But a very physical defensive back. Maybe a chance to be a Husky guy, but a strong safety type. Does a lot down in the box, tackling. A very, very physical player that we're excited about, Khalil Bryant. Coy Crunk, saw his tape last summer, and he was playing junior linebacker on one sideline to sideline. A great program at West Lafayette Catholic, another state championship team. Very athletic, big guy. Dad was a graduate assistant here for Coach Mallory back in 1991, so as a tie there. Mom's a principal at elementary school. Really got some work to do there as far as learning the position, almost like a basketball, baseball, tight end, D-end guy that's growing into one of those big athletic offensive, or could even play defense line, to tell you the truth. But we got him penciled in as an offensive tackle. Don't tell Coach Fry I said that. But he's he was a top kid that we're on early, and we're excited when he committed, and really glad that he signed. Brandon Drayton was recruited by a number of top programs in the country. At one time was committed to another Big Ten school out of Largo High School, which is John Crawford's high school, Donovan Hill's high school. Matter of fact, Coach Fry's high school coach used to be the coach there and kind of volunteer. So we got some great ties there with the Drayton family and that area. Matter of fact, one of my favorite players in Oklahoma is a young man by the name of Davin Joseph, who played for the Bucks. And there was a lady that kind of worked in our town that actually married the guy that's the basketball coach at Largo. And she actually lives in town. And Brandon plays basketball, and she's gotten to know Brandon very, very well. So even had an old Oklahoma Sooner in our back pocket. Even last year with Donovan Hill and with those guys, it was giving us a lot of love. Davin Joseph, one of my favorite players of all time. She had a personal affection and relationship with Davin. And that being said, her marrying the basketball coach at Largo has really helped us recruit those guys. So I appreciate Ms. Val. Keontae Enos, very, very talented kid. We'll bring Keontae in as a running back. That's what he wants to play. He had over 7,000 career yards, I think, according to the coach. That was his comments. 99 rushing touchdowns. We had him at camp 2 years ago, and then playing what we call Hoosier ball, which is just a run-around tag, run-around place. He could play safeties, corners, receivers, big skill kid. A 200-pound plus running back. We'll start there. We'll see how he handles it. I think he'll handle it well, but he's got a skill set to play a lot of things. And again, he was committed to another school in the conference, but glad he's kind of coming our way. And with him and Coy, that's our two in-state guys. We'd like to get a few more of the guys in-state. Worked hard, just didn't. We'll work harder and hopefully next year get a couple more. But excited to have Keontae, great athletic family. I want to say his grandpa's cousin, there was an Enos that played, I don't think it's immediate family, but they're all in the same area and related. It was Rick Enos, I believe, that played here. Late 60s, early 70s, somewhere like that. And of course, he's a little bit more closely related to Curtis Enos, that was the nice back at Penn State back in the mid-90s, late 90s. Jerome Johnson, a young man we got on late. We're down in Bassfield. Coach McCullough last week was kind of hitting a few places from place to place and popped through Arkansas, a few states. We had Jerome on campus. He had a lot of offers early where some guys filled up. We did need some defensive linemen. We did take him late. Played in the Mississippi-Alabama State All-Star game. Very athletic, big guy. We were impressed when we watched his tape here late. We put up some game tape, and the thing I can say best about him was every play, no matter if you made the play, he was turning and running to the ball. You watch a highlight tape, and you see a guy not get blocked, make a tackle, kill a guy, and say, that looks good. But when you watch linemen play, you want to watch them play after play after play. You get a feel for their effort. And the best thing about Jerome was he was chasing the ball every play, wasn't standing around watching. So for a big 300-pounder, excited to have him up front. Good student. I think there's some question about that. His grades are, he's already qualified. He's got to pass English like every senior basically does, but he's academically in great standing. Richard Lego signed, been here. He looks well in our workouts. We're doing lifting and running now. I haven't really seen him throw. Can't do that, but excited about Richard. He'll be in the mix. To say he's going to be our quarterback, though, he's going to have to, one, show he can handle it, and two, earn the respect and have the command presence, but earn the respect of his teammates. So we'll see how he progresses. Very, very talented. Target we needed, and glad he's here. He's doing great. Jonah Morris is a big receiver. Does have the skill set to play many spots on defense. If you watch his tape, he can play outside linebacker, safety, but he is a big receiver. We play with those guys. That's where we're bringing him into play. Very, very talented, recruited by a lot of guys. When some things at the end, he didn't like some things, he kind of approached us, said, I've always liked your offense. I want to bump a visit and come this week, and if I like it, I'm going to commit. And we were excited, and so he kind of got into it with us a little bit more than us chasing him. State championship team, Akron-Hoban. Akron-Hoban, I have a picture if you want to see it, but I got a picture of Bobby Johnson on the Akron-Hoban 1991 class list, because I did recruit Bobby out of Hoban, and since Bobby did coach here as a former great Hoosier coach, I did send a picture to Bobby to the Oakland Raiders and said legend, and he questioned that. He said he hoped Jonah was a lot tougher than he was. So, but we're excited about Jonah out of Hoban and had some fun with one of our former coaches, Bobby Johnson, over there. Tyler Nattee, I talked about him, big quarterback, see him as a big running back. We don't play with a true fullback, but sometimes you get both those guys in there. One's a little bit more of a blocker, and you can do some things. Really intrigued by Tyler. Great feet, an awesome football program. Euless Trinity is one of the premier programs in the state, just like Colquitt County, Georgia, Roswell, Georgia, St. Ed's, Cleveland. These kids are coming out of some big-time high school programs, so really like Tyler. Mackenzie Nowak, Wara, excuse me, I'm saying it right, it's a Wara, right? It's a silent N. Very unique kid. Family was in line in the country, in Nigeria, to actually be in the presidential lineage, or whatever that, help me, the king, whatever that, help me out. Mr. Glasses here, I'm not Mr. Politically correct on some of these governmental deals. But it's an unbelievable family, and the best thing about that family was the last time they were there, she didn't cook for Coach Fry, because she was doing all these fancy meals, and Coach Fry was putting on a lot of weight, and his wife was getting concerned. So the last meal we cut off Coach Friday was not allowed to eat Miss Evelyn's food. I'll tell you a great story about it. His name is Mackenzie, and he has a car that my daughter Mackenzie has, and he nicknamed his car Elena. I go, well, my oldest daughter is Elena. I got a daughter named Mackenzie. Mackenzie drives the same car that you're calling Elena, so this is a done deal. So it's like one of those ironic things. Is you remember, I have a picture of Mackenzie and his car Elena that we were going to share later today back to them. But a very talented offensive lineman. I would compare him to some of my Oklahoma kids with his athleticism, feet, quickness. I think that kid's a legitimate player. I think we've had some pretty good guys I said was going to be pretty good. This guy's name, pretty good is pretty good. This guy's got a chance to be really good. Coach Fry got all over him. He was committed to Missouri one time with the coaching change. A lot of guys came after him. Very educated, well-rounded, tremendous athlete. Excited about him. Peyton Ramsey, coach's kid, Cincinnati Elder. Two-time GCL Player of the Year. Great conference, great football quarterback. Dad played quarterback. Pedigree, another great program, great area he's coming from. So excited about Peyton. He'll be a freshman quarterback. Committed a long time ago. Appreciate everything he's about. He's going to be awesome. Ashawn Riggins, committed a long time ago. Recruited by many schools in our league to change his commitment after he committed. I think he needs 20-some points and a couple assists to go over 1,000 to be the all-time assist leader at Hamilton High. Marcus Oliver's high school. A lot of clips playing offense on his highlights, but he's going to be a big corner. And again, really like what Ashawn's going to bring to the game. Ryan Smith played defensive line. We projected him as an offensive lineman, and that's what Moeller played him at this year. Played both ways. And again, another big-time program, GCL, Cincinnati Moeller. Ryan, again, very athletic kid, 290, 300 pounds, good cut, good-looking guy. Great program. He's going to be an awesome player. We see him as an inside center or guard. Alan Stallings we got on late. Alan's big for that size now. He's, I want to say 26 or 27-2 in wrestling, state of Illinois. His high school program a year ago was the national championship wrestling team. He's a big-time wrestler. He's explosive and quick with his hands. He might be slightly a little bit undersized on length, but he is a high motor, aggressive guy. We got her in late. We needed a couple edge guys. We were missing on a couple, but his skill set's plenty good enough. And if you watch his tape, he's explosive. We were intrigued by that wrestling deal. We're going to have him and T. Gray Scales lock up one day and see who's the best wrestler on our team, because those wrestling guys have a knack to be good football players. And he's coming out maybe the premier wrestling high school program in the country. And even though we're a football team, that translates a lot to me. Grayson Stover, Tampa area offensive tackle. We weren't sure with our numbers if we're going to take an offensive lineman or not. And Coach Fry even made a suggestion. I don't know if I can take him. He was getting pressured. He made a commitment wanting to come here. But Greg said, hey, I can't promise you, and if I got one here in a week, I'll come back to you. And we came back to him because we felt we needed one more offensive tackle. So Grayson was committed to another school, switched back, but he always liked us. Came up here, was recruited by many Big Ten schools, had a great offer list, was up here back for our, I think either Ohio, it might have been our Michigan game. Ohio State or Michigan game is on his official visit. So we're able to land him here late. Offensive tackle, long, athletic, excited about him. Ian Thomas, athletic tight end. We can flex out as a receiver, bring him inside, a little bit more of a receiver than a blocking tight end, a basketball type body. Did trip A&M last week, had a lot of South Carolina, some other schools on him. Coach Patton did an awesome job, like Coach Fry, with Grayson Stover, where he had such a good relationship. He's able to weather the storm, and excited about him. And Jamie Thompson here's already on campus. Jamie from Toledo had signed with another Big Ten school, went to Iowa Western. He's here, 2 years to play and looking good. And we're in the process maybe of landing one more. Potentially, we've got 2 spots still available. But right now, we've got those 22 guys on campus and 18 are official today. So, like the class, bigger bodies, longer bodies. Mr. Glass is sitting up there, though. It's not where you start. I think somebody said this is our lowest rated class since 12. And I go, yeah, look where 12 started, look where they finished. Because you got 3 All-Americans in that class. But that's the weight room, and that's nutrition, and that's academic support, and then that's the coaching on the field, and the kid doing the job. The kid doing the job. So there's some body types like that. There's some length. There's some really good players that are coming out of really good programs. But to me, there's going to be a lot of development. So recruiting's one phase of the deal. The next deal is development. I do think every year we're starting at a higher development part. So we're bringing a better product, and hopefully we got a lot of work to do, but excited about these guys.
Talk about Cole, Justin.
Did I miss Cole? Oh, geez, he'll be mad. Yeah, Cole just hit me here. I guess let me show you this. I just got some message from Cole. This is the stuff recruiting's about, see. Now, this isn't on Twitter, so you can handle, you do text on it? Do you text? Yeah, this is text, so you can handle this, see. See, I'm out of the Twitter world for him. So Cole sends me this deal, and he says, you'll love this. Just now, this is like at 10:17. Coach, let's talk numbers. What does that mean?
No.
Jersey numbers, right? Everybody wants to wear number 1, 2. Nobody wants to wear 29. Nobody wants to wear 57, my freshman number. 57 is a great number. So I said to him, here's my number, 812-325, blah, blah, blah. What's yours? I love this number game. He goes, I'm talking Jersey numbers. I said, well, I'm thinking like 1,275 yards and 12 TDs as a frosh. How do you like those numbers? So anyway, that's my Cole Guest conversation. Cole is a dynamic little dynamo. He is explosive as all get out. I don't want to make comparisons, but he compares to some dudes that play in this league that are kind of short and explosive and are great punt returners. He's a running back. He's a running back for sure. I think we could play him at slot. I think he's a fly sweep guy, maybe a return guy. He's not overly tall. He's in that 5'9"-ish range, but extremely powerful, compact, strong thighs and lower body, very, very explosive. He's a running back coming in, and even more of a running back than Keontae, who plays running back. Keontae's more versatile in playing other positions. Cole is a pure running back that can do some slot. And again, he plays for St. Ed's, the state championship big division Ohio team. Great program, great player. Had him at camp. I would rate him explosively as high as many premier backs that are rated high. That kid's got some juice, and he's coming with a great program. He's going to be a heck of a player. So I apologize, Cole, for missing you, because he's actually one of our favorite guys. They all are. All right, so questions? You guys followed all the Twitter stuff, Dave, so you got it all, so I'd be in good shape.
When you talk about comparing it to the 24 class, who was doing that, and I assume that you don't mind that comparison?
No, well, I don't know. I mean, everybody gets into ratings. Like, what are the ratings? And our ratings actually went up because in Weaver's World, we picked up a 5.7 and a 5.6 and a 5.4 today. Nobody know about it. If I knew your numbers, which I don't know, but that's what they are, right? So then points go, but then all of a sudden, too, what happens to those guys you sign that never play? It's where you start. Well, we've done a nice job of, it's just we're starting with better bodies. And this is another good body class. And it's a body class, and you'll sit here and say, and I say you, but you'll say, hey, man, they're struggling defense. They need defensive guys. We've recruited so hard on defense the last few years. We need to hit some offensive guys in this class. Because you got Simi Cobbs and Ricky Jones and some receivers getting on the old end. And you just lost a couple tight ends. You're losing some veteran linemen. You got to get the next guys. You want to get the quarterbacks. We tried to go JC for an answer, but a young guy. The running backs. And so I just think the guys look at numbers, where the classes were. This class got rated one a little slow because, one, we don't do a lot of early commitments. Just because I think to get good players, you got to earn their trust, and I don't know if we've been good enough, quite honestly, Andy. And I think as we went through the season, we weren't sure, like, again, you're sitting there and you guys say, but when you're recruiting and there's 2 years left on the contract, ain't nobody want to play for that. Because who's going to be your coach? When I showed up here, I showed up with seniors and juniors that were recruited when Coach Hepner was fighting and Coach Lynch was an intern. And all the kids heard for 2 years is, who's going to be your DB coach? Who's going to be your line coach? What offense are they going to run? What defense? So there's so much uncertainty. Now that we've gotten, and the contract thing just took time, because when I stalled during the bowl game, because I didn't want to talk about it for 2 weeks, I wanted to win that game. And I was almost being superstitious. And I knew we were going to get a good deal, and so it wasn't for me a good deal, it was a good deal for the program, for the strength coaches and his staff and the whole deal. And Mr. Glass and I, we put a lot of work into what was the broad-based approach. That might have hurt us with some of our in-state local guys. Going forward, I hope it really helps us, because we're going to attack those guys hard. But man, we're on some stable ground. We need some better players. And if we get a couple more of those cosmetic guys, it's going to cosmetically look better. But these kids we've added, we're not stretches. I'm telling you, I'm holding 2 right now, and we walked away from some. Okay, don't think, now again, we had some kids on campus that chose other schools. Fact. We also had some kids on campus that we walked away from, that we didn't think fit us or we didn't want. That's a fact too. If Mr. Glass just left, we give these kids a lifetime contract. You can't cut them. So when you bring them in, they better be good enough. And so if we have reservations, and I call plays in about 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, but when I got my time, I'm as conservative as all get out. I think you ought to take your money and bury it in the backyard in a jar. Some of these investments are going. I want to be. I have a conservative approach to a lot of things, and we're very conservative in our recruiting approach. We're aggressively going after people, but we want to get people that can make it here, academically, socially, and play winning Big Ten East football. So, sometimes you just look at those, stats, and somebody just hit me. I don't read all that stuff. But somebody said, "Hey, somebody says your worst class is 12," and I go, "Oh, shoot, that was pretty good." I'll take that one. IU will take that one a lot. So I hope this class hope it's better than 12, which would be a really good one. We'll keep going. But it's just, it's subjective comparisons. At the end, that 12 class was good enough to be 6 and 7, so we got to be better than that.
Aside from the tight end position, how do you rate this class from a physical standpoint that you were looking for? Speed, all those things?
Yeah, again, the real thing, I think there is some speed. But I think just the size and wingspan, the length of bodies. Those like Jonah Morris is 6'4", 6'5". Phil Binker's 6 couple at receiver. I felt a couple of years ago in our first or second class, I made a comment where recruiting our receivers are getting too small. and you got some size. Now, there's give and take. The bigger you get, sometimes the slower you get. So there's a little bit of take there, Don. Those DB guys have nice size. I don't think there's one under 6 foot. You know, we used to throw some 5'8", 5'9" guys out there. Drayton's 6'2". Khalil's probably 5'11". He's probably, but he's the physical kid. Really, he's got some punch to him. So there's just longer bodies. They're very athletic. Some of those big guys got to get bigger, stronger. But I mean, in general, I would say the thing that pleases me most is not what the ratings could be or who else recruited them. They're just longer bodies and are more athletic. And each year, I think we're recruiting more and more of those. And you know, 4 or 5 years ago, the team looks a lot different now. We still don't always play as great as we need to play. We got to keep getting better. But we just are bigger, longer, faster as a team, and we got to keep adding to that.
Coach, you sort of mentioned contract situation, bowl games. Where does everyone sort of go from here as far as in-state? But given once everything was sort of taken care of after the bowl game, how appreciative are you, or at least, slightly pleased that you were able to get some kids sort of later in the recruiting process?
No doubt, and that helped. And we probably would have lost some in this day and age of guys coming after. I think, there was something like, hey, we knew, and we're glad. At the same time, I will say this, even though some things weren't official, Mr. Glass was one of my recruiters talking to kids when I get on, hey, get on the phone with this guy and tell them, hey, we're committed, we got this thing going, and we plan for Coach Wilson's staff to be here. Not me, again, we were talking more about staff, because we've already had coaches that have been approached about jobs, and they will continue to be. And we're not always going to keep them all, but we got some good coaches we want to keep. So very appreciative of Mr. Glass's, one, commitment to the program, two, actually behind the scenes, helping us as we were weathering the storms of dotting I's and crossing T's. That being said, too, the way recruiting goes, it goes fast in the Midwest. We got junior days going right now, and if we don't get those juniors on campus by March, it's like you're out of the game. And not that they're all going to commit by then, but you got to get in the Midwest. These kids go so fast that your relationships right now with limited phone call, which we can't call, but we're taking phone calls a day from juniors saying in 366 days, because we have Groundhog Day coming up, right? So we got to count that one. It's not 365, it's a day. 366, you're next. See?
Groundhog Day, different place.
Oh, not the 29th. What's that extra day? What's that called? Leap year day. Yeah, that should be like a holiday because it's a bonus day, right? So leap year should be an automatic holiday. Everybody gets the whole day off. I have a secretarial rule that's the sun shining in February. It's a day off. Go home, enjoy the sun in February. Of course, with global warming, we're getting more of this. I got to change that also. That's just a little joke we have up east side. So, but anyway, I say I really hope going forward. When we started hard, I think we've got some strong relationships in state. I personally feel there are a lot of great schools in this country, but wherever you grow up at, your state school sometimes is very hard to beat. And then we're fortunate to be in a great state that's a great state school. And so with the relationships and the education you're going to get, then you throw the Big Ten football in there, the Big Ten East, all the things that we can provide resource-wise. I think our product for an in-state kid is hard to beat, and we sell that hard. And this year, I'd say we went up some guys we didn't get. Hopefully next year it'll be stronger. We don't take that personally, don't get them. I mean, at the same time, I don't want to take a bunch of guys that aren't good enough to play. We got to take guys that we can win in the Big Ten East. But we'd like to do a little bit better in state next year, and that won't be the focal point. But that'll be something we'll work hard at, and we'll work hard to get some big D-line, linebacker types, which the last couple classes have had. This next class will need, because you don't have extreme voids as we go.
The Midwest guys committing so early, like you said, but you guys not really wanting to take early commitments. How do you find a balance there?
It's hard. Like, I've had kids wanting to commit before they've never been here. I mean, how can you do? You're picking. I always tell guys, you don't want to pick a jersey in a stadium. You want to pick people. And I don't want to recruit a highlight tape. What kind of person are you? So, again, I try to, and when a kid says, you can ask some of these kids, when they say they won't commit, I don't hug them. I say, okay, tell me why. Because really, like I'll tell guys, I don't want them to commit. I want them to come here and be great students, get an education, and play winning football. And because everything they do is public record, and we got to graduate our kids, and we need to win. And so them committing means we got to give them the lifetime scholarship now. Hey, what are we getting? I want the two-way street. Hey, I need you to do some things too. Be a great kid, get an education, and play high-end football. And so, but it's tough, and it's almost getting too, because you've got to be a guy, everybody's talking about some of these, as coaches, kids commit and then coaches back off. But, it's almost like everybody's grabbing a bird in the hand, and everybody's still shopping around. I made a comment a few years ago that no one thought was right. We keep talking about changing our recruiting calendar. I don't know if we need to change our calendar because kids are making decisions. But I'd really love to see an end of the summer, August 1st signing day. And I've said this to many people, if there was 100 kids that were committed, on August the 1st, 50 of them would sign, 25 of them wouldn't send their papers back, and 25 of them wouldn't get papers sent to them, because the coach ain't really offering. You know, he thinks he's got one, because you're waiting on grades or whatever. So, I think the best way to slow it down is to speed it up and make it for real. And if there's a head coaching change, you can tear the paper. But anyway, everybody's got to adjust, never going to happen. It just is what it is. And because of all the great social media things we have, and you guys covering it, you guys make our job extremely hard. You know, that's why I was kind of quiet on some of those little last second things like, is it worth it? You know, it's just, you know, but there's no secrets. You know, I mean, it's just hard. It's college football.
You talk about the in-state stuff, I mean, with Tom Allen coming in here, was that part of your
No.
sensibility with him and his
Had nothing to do with
contact with Dick Dullahan and all that stuff?
No, I even told Dick that then. Matter of fact, I talked to Dick after I called Dick up and said, tell me why I shouldn't hire him. You know, versus getting his recommendation first. You know, I was intrigued by his energy and the success he had at Ole Miss through South Florida. And then he has some ties, but it wasn't like, hey, we'll get more Indiana guys. And I think he's gonna help us, because again, walking around, when you walk around Greg Fry in South Florida, I mean, Tom was hugging a cafeteria lady the other day at a school we were at together, that he worked with. And that was, you know, so he's gonna know people, and that's gonna help. But the real help is getting our defensive, you know, culture and kids playing right. And that was a bigger priority than, because I think if we play good, the recruits will come anyway. And so the recruiting is the last function of it. No disrespect to, I appreciate where he's from. He says he's the greatest Newcastle non-basketball player ever. He's going in the Hall of Fame in Newcastle here in a couple of weeks, so he's excited about that. So, anything else, guys?
Yeah, Kevin, is your program at the point where you've played a lot of freshmen, and maybe you don't have to play as many of these kids? or
Great question.
If they're able to compete, and you go,
Great question. And we're getting more depth, but at the same time, Pete, when these kids don't play, they struggle academically, socially. There's no JV team, there's no freshman team, you know, and they want to play. And man, we do work really hard. I mean, I'm talking the effort. Matter of fact, I said something to Jeff, we ought to open up and you ought to catch one of our new winter workouts with Coach Caden and what's going on. Everybody works in college ball. The commitment, the time. That's why sometimes the fifth-year guys don't want to come back and say, man, that's a lot of time. It's a lot of wear and tear on my body. Is it worth one more year? And notice the guys that come back in 5th and 6 years, not a lot of them are up there, you know, those quarterbacks come back for 6 years because they don't get hit as much, you know, when you think about it. And so that being said, you know, I just think kids do better when they play. We have never promised any recruit he'll play as a freshman. We have played 60 in 5 years, correct? We played 60 in 5 years? That's true freshman, right? So basically, that's, my mathematics is an old math major, says that's 12 per year, which means basically half our class mathematically plays on mathematical average. If you're going to the NFL, you're gonna play 3.9 years. If you make it, that's mathematical. You're fighting averages. So we tell guys, average-wise, you have a heads or tails chance of playing as a freshman based on our track record. But we're not promising you gotta earn it. But I do like playing freshmen. I also just wanna make sure they play enough to merit the time on the field, and I don't wanna minimize it. So I love to redshirt them, but shoot, these kids are graduating early. They're all coming summer programs. We basically got them almost 11, 12 months. They got dead time to shoot. Everybody's training. And sometimes, Pete, I think if you're not careful, they burn out. And you get the injuries. You know, we got Marcus Oliver with an injury and got him back. We had someone, Keontae Walton this year. When some of those guys have had injuries, you get those years back. It happened to Williams. Devontae Williams got hurt in the second game, gets the year back. So I think we still kind of keep doing what we're doing. And I think some of these guys are good enough to play.
Kevin, when you talk about, you know, the recruiting from tougher because of maybe social media or the media itself, how much tougher has it become just because of the things that coaches are doing differently, like recruiting guys, you know, going after kids that have already committed, or some of the antics that we saw that were publicized this year?
Yeah, and I don't know if those antics are new. My first boss was recruiting a running back to Wake Forest years ago. When the kid said he didn't want to sign, he said he went and got his bags, went in and says, where am I sleeping at? Because coach said, don't come home till you sign. So where am I sleeping? And so some of that's, just, the work stuff. And the thing that's just so hard is that, you could go to a off the beaten track and find a guy. And if no one knew about it, you're like, hey, this guy's kind of a, quote, sleeper. I just wonder if there's any sleepers anymore, because it just, everybody's awake, it seems like, and everybody's talking about it. So, it's just, I don't know if you can, to me, that's why, it's not hard. It's just, you're always in a fight, and it goes back to you better be building relationships, Mike, because, if the kid doesn't trust you and believe in you, they're gonna be sold a lot of things, and you gotta work hard at the decision makers. Is the parent influential or not? Grandparent, the coach, who's the kid leaning on, and you gotta work him to build, here's how we're gonna take care of your kid. So, to me, it's the dynamics. I mean, when I first got here years ago, I said, listen, you need to follow the Alex McCarthy's and Matt Weavers, and who else here, you need to follow them at every school, because every time they write an article on someone, then pull that guy's film up and see if he's good enough. That's a little bit of recruiting right now, is that you guys share so much information. Sometimes you're writing things about us, like, I really wish you wouldn't be writing that one right now. But it's free press too, you know what I'm saying? So, you like that, but so, anyway, it's just difficult. At the same time, though, we're all fighting on the same deal. Our recruiting's weathered the storm. I'm not complaining about it. Just part of the process.
I think you guys had 6 of the 13 games this season nationally televised under very hasty or ESPN. What kind of national exposure or impact did that national exposure have on the recruiting trail, especially as you were running after class here over the last month?
I mean, I don't care what school we were at. I mean, I don't know if there was not one place where someone said, hey, I saw you play so-and-so. I got on a plane flying from Houston to Tampa, sitting beside a gentleman, and he looked and he saw my deal, and he says, is that U of H? And I said, no, it's Indiana. He goes, the Hoosiers gonna have a good football team this year? And I go, well, they better, because I'm the coach. He goes, I saw 4 of your games. You guys are close. And he started going into all our games. It was just some dude on the airplane, a 65-year-old guy going back to Tampa to see guys. So that helped a lot. But hopefully there's so much local press that we can start getting some of that continuity, get these local guys behind it. Because if you go to Florida, the kid thinks he's playing in the Big Ten. These Indiana guys know, with parents know a little bit more, like historically we've struggled, we gotta cross that bridge. That's where the W's are gonna help more in-state. On a national brand, I think, and Matt, some of you guys call these kids around Alex nationally. Nationally, I think the kids have a good vibe for IU football, Big Ten East football, and what we're doing. And we've got coaches that got some good networking within some of those regions. So I think we do really reasonably well. Now, I'm in New York City that day, and it was, they were just like, hey, they're going through the games, and so the exposure helped. I appreciate that, and that's a credit to our team playing well, and I hope we keep doing this so we can get more and more of those. It's also a product playing Big Ten East football. That's one of the things we sell, and we sell it hard.
Kevin, can you recall sort of a moment or a time frame when, in regards to Penn State, things turned in your favor?
I don't know if they are in my favor. As far as, what do you mean?
With Ennis?
Well, Keontae?
Yeah, with this.
When he came down on his visit, I think quite honestly, he's unbelievably talented. I think some of the recruiting where he's from, I think he got a little overwhelmed. And I think we kind of gave him some space. He's a little more of a small town kid. To be this, I think he's a very shy kid. And when you're this excellent athlete in this small town, you become a little bit bigger than you are. I think he's a very quiet, shy kid. And I think the way that Coach McCullough and Coach McDaniel and Coach Johns recruited him, we gave him space. We didn't smother him, and I just think there was a little bit of connection. When he came on the visit, I think he felt at ease. And we felt several weeks ago it was coming our way, but he also just wanted to keep, because I think he was tired of people bugging him, so he just kind of shut it down. But he didn't shut it down from talking with us, and we didn't cross the line. Sometimes you try to feel the way the kid wants to be recruited. I think one of the worst things to do sometimes is to over-recruit a kid. And to have the confidence, if you know you got a good relationship, trust that, and don't become a burden. And I think we got a little trust in him that he connected, not with, and our players too. So that was pleasing to, kind of felt that was going our way. It was good to get him.
Coach, a lot of these players have played multiple sports, and you brought up injuries earlier on. Do you, instead of just training, focusing on football, to play another sport like baseball or track or basketball?
No doubt. As a matter of fact, if you're worried about getting hurt, you got, as media will say, hey, why should a guy come back? He's going to risk getting hurt. I think the young man at Notre Dame that's a high-end guy blew a knee out. He still picked to go in the top 10, 12, 15 in the draft, right? So if you're good, you're good. I had a chance to coach a kid named Sam Bradford that got hurt and played, I think, 6 quarters his senior year, and Jermaine Gresham didn't play a snap his senior year. One was picked 1, one was picked 23. If you're good enough, you're good enough. I always tell kids, if you're worried about getting hurt, just don't drive a car, because that's your greatest odds there, is to just put that baby in park and just, get in a little recluse shell. So we don't worry about that. The great thing about playing sports, I said to Sean Riggins, I'm glad you're playing basketball, because if you can't play basketball in the GMC, how are you going to cover those kids at Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State? So I want kids that play sports. I think the more competitive situations they're in, they're better. I think you can still train and lift. I think weights don't hit back. You know what I'm saying? And the track's just sitting there and you got a clock. I think to have a bad practice day and a coach be all over you at baseball and come to strike out on a full count and feel that. To throw the strike, to make the shot. The more kids compete, I think the better they're going to be. And I think the NFL had a stat a couple years ago. In the NFL, I think 70% of all quarterbacks played 2 sports, and 80% of all quarterbacks in the NFL played 3 sports, or vice versa. Might be backwards on the 70 and 80 of 2 and 3 sports. So I mean, a lot of kids want to specialize. I love it when I liked Stallings being a big-time wrestler. I think that's awesome. T-Ray Scales was 34-1 in the state of Ohio. That's legit. And so I don't encourage kids to play, but I am concerned when they don't. Why can't you run track at your high school? Why can you not start basketball? Why are you not a wrestler? Why are you not playing tennis, golf, whatever? I want them playing. I think it's awesome. And I think great players play sports.
Coach, one more thing about your strength and conditioning new guy here and
Coach K.
and his the way he goes about things. Have you seen a big difference, or is it pretty much status quo?
Well, no, it's different because it is different, and at the same time, change is change. So that doesn't mean it's better. Just because you're doing something different doesn't mean it's better, it just means it's different. Better's getting better. It'll be interesting to see if we're better. I think we are. One, he's coming into a situation where he's got a new program, but there's a 5-year standard of kind of working hard, doing it right. So for our kids to be able to handle a certain degree of volume of work, there's not a lot of pushback from our players. I think also, though our players have done Coach Hill's program, there can be you can get stagnant. And I'm always challenging our coaches to think outside the box and to do different things. So I think some of his new ways are going to be awesome. He's including everyone in the department yesterday. Yesterday when he finished the workout, he had our nutritionist go through the menu and what they should eat at the meal that day. And he had us buy water bottles. He said, a guy pulled a hamstring, he's not drinking enough water. Not that he has a quad imbalance or didn't stretch, he's not hydrating himself well enough. So anyway, intrigued. I personally, Don, when I had 2 thoughts when Coach Hill told me he was moving on. One, we wanted him to stay because he did an awesome job for us. But the first thought was there was a coach at Missouri that was not retained by the new coach, and I always thought Missouri, Coach Pink had done a great job. And then I was intrigued by what they'd done at Baylor, and watching Baylor play, how fast they are, how physical they are, how hard they play, how competitive they've done. And when I called a coach I know at Missouri, he said, you need to hire the number 2 guy at Baylor. He used to coach here. I said, well, shoot, that's the best of both worlds. And so there's a little bit of that tree. I've been playing against Coach Pinkel's teams the last couple of years, and should I go back to playing against his teams when he was at Toledo and we were at Miami, Ohio, and then Oklahoma, Missouri, and then we played him here those 2 years. I was just impressed with how well their team played and how they developed their guys. And then when I watched Baylor from afar, having competed against them for 9 years, I was intrigued by that. So I didn't know him, but I wanted someone from this pedigree. I actually saw Coach Briles at our coaching convention. He said, you hired one of our guys. And I said, Coach, I wanted a Baylor guy. I said, I'm just impressed with what y'all do. And he said, I appreciate that. And he said, you got a legit guy. And I think Coach Hill is awesome. I think Keith Caden's going to be a big-time hire for us. I really will get with Jeff and try to facilitate. If you guys are, now you got to set them clocks early now. We kind of get up there rolling now. And if you guys come late to the, as a media deal, he might make y'all do some up-downs or something now, or something like that. But, I would encourage you maybe to catch one of the workouts. Keg walked through there, he says, man, this is different. These guys are good. I can quote you on that, right? Yeah. Anyway, I'm very encouraged. And we lost a good guy, but I don't know if we're stepping backwards. That's not a slight mark. I don't think we've slipped, and I think we're moving the way you want to keep moving. else, men, ladies? Appreciate you guys. Go out either. Go. Coach Johns did a good job recruiting Taste here. Now, Taste here, Penn State tried hard to bump us on that last weekend and came in here.
Correct.
We had a good visit, and with his family, his mom came, had an uncle.
Correct.
Was with him, so always get the family involved, that was good. And then he did take a trip, had committed to Rutgers and the Priestfield, but Coach Johns did a great job. And, you know, again, with our receivers and numbers, you watch, you guys pull his clips up on the huddle stuff. He's a very physical, 6, one have two?
Yeah.
What is he weighing?
Yeah, 185, 190.
Very unique kid, comes out of great academic school, very strong student. What else you got on him?
Special kid, special talent, yeah. Excited, and I think we'll fit in well. I can kind of hit it all.
So, you good with that? Is that good? So taste your map. From Grant Street campus, right?
Right.
Grant. It took me two. Now, I left I stayed at the Brooklyn Marriott. It's 4 miles. So I come out, well, they had all that snow, I couldn't make a right turn. I go across the Brooklyn Bridge. It's 40 minutes later, I'm 3 blocks from where I started. Now, I've been driving all the time, I'm just going these circles around the deal. They're calling me where you're at. And I'm not challenged
Yeah, you're
driving.
pretty good.
I'm Rand McNally, I can get around pretty good. And I was all, it was bugging me, I'm like, hey, it's right here, you know? So anyway, but we had a great visit, really great visit, down the dungeon of his high school. And they run, if you watch their stuff, they do a great wide open offense. His coach played quarterback for Doug Williams at Grambling. And his assistant coach was coached by P.J. Fleck at Rutgers. So he's a neat kid, and we're glad to have him. So that gets us to 21, and that's another solid 5. That was the 5-6 I was talking about that you didn't know yet, right? So add that there to your stuff, Weavers, and say that pumps it on up there. So all right, now we got to make sure they all pass English, and they all are good kids, and they all show up, and they're all healthy come off. All right? Good? And that's it. So everybody go to bed.